See here. Good morning, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other. This is a sisterhood to support one another. So thank you again. Thank you, Janet, and all of you who are joining our call this morning. This morning, Janet will be presenting Mindset Matters, how to train your brain to release the strain and make big gains. What a good topic. Love it, love it. So with that, Janet, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and then and why this topic is so important to you.
Oh my goodness, that's the golden question for me. Um, First, let me ask you guys if you've ever been faced with or are facing a situation where you just didn't know what to do with your life or how things were going to work out or where to start, right? Yeah. My dad used to always do that when we would drive, just in case we're wrong, he would do that. Um, so if you're working towards a particular goal, you've had a successful career or a loving relationship, and then all of a sudden life throws in a little curveball, right? And things are not happening as you planned them to be. And if this doesn't apply to you, oh my goodness, I want to meet you. Never met anybody that didn't have a little kinks in their plan. Well, this is exactly what happened to me. I went through a pretty interesting, let me just say interesting divorce when I was 57. And as I was telling Renee before we started, that I'll be 64 in next week. Next Friday is my birthday. Yeah.
Happy
9
birthday.
grandkids. Yeah. 4 kids, 9 grandkids. And after 32 years of marriage, I found out some interesting things that were going on. My former spouse had a whole different life going on. And so, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty devastating. And as things started unfolding, I was talking to my mom, and the first thing she said to me is, "Who's going to hire you? You're so old." So, right.
Jeez.
Yeah, right? And so I had in my brain all of these fears, and I'd been working part-time. I have a really successful piano lesson business that I've been doing since I've been in high school. My former spouse was in the military, and so we moved all around, and I've had lots of experience having to close down my business because we were moving and starting it up again. So I knew that things were going to be okay, but yet I had these swirling thoughts in my brain, plus a lot of anger. I was really ticked. I was very, 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 very mad. And if you've never been in that situation, then yay. But yeah, I was, and it was not fun. And, turns out you can't be mad at someone for weeks on end and it not affect you, months on end, years on end, because it does affect you. And I didn't realize that tongue-in-cheek plotting someone's demise was actually causing me physical pain. I did not know that. And I had to learn for myself this quote that I love by Wayne Dyer: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I didn't realize that having all of this anger and these swirling thoughts in my brain were actually making me sick. And so, how it showed up for me was I had these two 70-pound dogs that um, I inherited. Long story there, but they were my daughters, and I ended up with them. And I was just in so much pain when we'd walk. My knee, my both my knees were hurting, but my right knee was especially bad. So I went to the doctors, had MRIs. Turns out I have no cartilage under my right kneecap and severe arthritis. They said, well, we can't, and a tear in my medial meniscus. We can't do anything about that unless we, give you a whole new knee replacement. And you're too young, says no one ever when you're 57. Right. So you're just going to have to take ibuprofen around the clock for the next 5 years until you can have this knee replacement. And I knew that that was not for me. I knew that there was a better way to navigate this situation. So I just kept looking, and one day I came across a great speaker that talked about her back pain and how she had cured herself with the power of the mind by training her brain to think differently. And I was so intrigued that I went home and called her. This was a Saturday. I called her Monday morning at 8 o'clock, and I booked an appointment. I went down there, and she said, "This is not about your knees at all. It's about what you're thinking." Right? And I was so mad. Like, I don't even get to be mad about this situation. I have to let it go. And I'm Christian. I'm all in. I am 100% on board with the forgiveness stuff. But how do you do that when someone has ruined your life? Like, how does that look? What does that look like? I wasn't making the connection between forgiving and letting go of the anger. And so I was still on the hamster wheel. So after I went through the process at Balanced You, and in 6 weeks, I was jogging. In 6 weeks, I've not, now I'm, like I said, I'll be 64 next Friday. This was when I was 57. I have not had surgery. Um, I don't know if I still have a tear in my medial meniscus. It doesn't bother me except when I get mad at somebody and I let it fester. And then I go, oh, I know what to do. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? But it's such a habit, right? So, my message to you today is I'm going to help you guys. I'm going to give you some tips on how to overcome some obstacles and reach any goal that you have, regardless of your age. If you're old and your mom tells you no one's going to hire you, and that was a big concern for me. Like, how am I gonna afford to live in California as a divorced woman? How am I gonna make this work? And I'm doing it, and I'm happy. And who knew? Who knew that that ended up being the very best thing that could ever happen to me? So, but it had to do with retraining my brain. So if you have something to write on, you grab a piece of paper, a notebook or something, and a pencil. What I'd like you to do is write down one or two or even three things that you want differently. And for me, I had to start with something that was bothering me. What was bothering me? So on one side of the paper, I put, man, some of my kids are really difficult. We just don't. If they were easier, I would be so much happier. If they were not so difficult, so you can write down on one side of the paper what is bothering you, or I need to. My ex is just causing me so many problems, or who's going to hire me at age 57? That could be a problem. And then on the other side, what I'd like you to put on your paper is how you want to feel instead. Now, it can be anything. Obviously, I can't help you if you want to learn to fly without, just your wings. Obviously, it has to be within the human capabilities. But I want you to think of an area of your life where you have a big goal or you'd like to be more successful. If you don't have any health challenges, it can even be as simple as abundance comes to me easily, or it's easy for me to meet with and talk to other people. That was another big challenge that I had, was I was an introvert. Like, I could do COVID every day, all day long, because I get energy from just alone time. And so that was a difficult thing for me to get out of my shell and go talk to people. So this was a process that I used for that to help me to be more outgoing. And it's not that I'm afraid, it's just that it's not my number one most awesome thing to do. So if you have one or two or even three things, yeah, I could do. Yeah, you're awesome. Yes, Tamara, I totally agree. If you have your list of things you want better, I need you to make sure that it is phrased with positive words. We want to avoid using words like not, no, can't. Um, just keep it in the present tense. For instance, if I have a relationship issue, I might say, I easily get along with my daughter. I easily communicate, or I communicate in a way that helps me receive respect that I deserve. Something like that. So I'll give you just a minute to do that.
What if it's something you don't have control over?
Okay,
Like you,
so
yeah,
give me an example.
it's like you're talking about your kids.
Yeah.
Let's say your
Oh,
kids are not getting along with their spouse or something.
yeah.
What do? You don't have any control. It's somebody else's.
Okay, so that's a great question. So, and I've had this issue lots. So, what can I do? Well, number one, I know I can't control other people, but I also know that if I stay up worrying about that all night long, it doesn't really help. It only makes me sick, right? And here's the other thing I've noticed about this process. As I work on myself with some of these things, the things that come out of my mouth are different, and it creates more peace and abundance. And I'm telling you, the first time I ever did this, I was having a conflict with a, a child, and an adult child. I'm trying to keep her anonymous, but I only have one daughter. But yeah, right. And I was very upset about it. And again, it really was out of my control. I really couldn't do anything to change the situation other than to um, just be unaffected, not be angry, because that's my go-to emotion. Um, so I wrote down on my paper, I am unaffected by her behavior. I can find peace and joy regardless of how she acts or her choices. I started with that. And when she came over, the next time she came over, I didn't get mad. I wasn't upset. I just said, "Okay, that sounds good." And literally she stopped in her tracks. Her mouth went down to the floor and she said, "Oh, thanks, Mom." And she came over and gave me a hug. And I actually took a step back because it shocked me so much. Um, so when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And again, I wished I could stop my kids from some of their choices, because uh, after my own divorce, two of my children, adult children, have gone through their own divorces, and that was even more painful than my own, leaps and bounds, right?
Hmm.
Uh, it was so painful for me. But what helped was me focusing on how I want to feel instead. For me, I had to trust my higher power, which for me is God. I trust that everything is going to be okay. I trust that I can support that child in the best way possible. So that's what I wrote down on my paper, is how I want to feel instead. That's my go-to question to myself. How do you want to feel instead? And then I focus on that, and it really changed the way I perceived other people, the way I talked. So does that help a little bit?
Yeah, so basically what you're doing is that you're doing the work for you, not since the situation you don't have any control. It could be your spouse. You don't have control over your spouse, but if your behavior changed toward that spouse, then the relationship changed. Tamara can attest to that. Um,
Right? Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's really like because I think that a lot of my worries at night, I can't sleep, and I keep thinking, there's nothing, I mean, like, it's not it's the somebody else, but I worry about it, my kids, my spouse, or whatever.
Yes.
And then I have to play this little game. Do I have control or do I not have control? Question now, it's like a questionnaire. It's
Oh,
like you have to kind of do all that and then just modify, like you said, modify your behavior, things you can control.
yes, 100%. And we know, you can get on the freeway and be in a great mood, and some not so nice person can cut you off. I'm searching for diplomatic words here.
I
And
know, me too.
right?
I have that word in my head.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And then you're mad. And for me, again, that's my go-to emotion. I get mad, and then I stew about it and I plot the revenge for the next 20 years. And all that does is make me sick, right? When as I've learned to do this process and get over it, and it's more than just affirmations. Affirmations, I think affirmations are great. Do they work? I don't know. I mean, they take a really long time, really long time. And that's why I loved this method because, again, like I said, in 6 weeks, I was jogging. So I'm like, why are we not telling people about this instead of having surgery? Like, and again, I think surgery is great. I in 2013, I broke my ankle in 2 places, and I was super grateful for that surgeon that was there. I'm really glad he was on call that day because it saved me. But for this knee thing, I knew I did not want to get surgery, and plus I felt better. And then I noticed, again, like I said, on certain days my knee would hurt, and on certain days it wasn't. So what? Then I would stop and think, oh, what have I been thinking the last? Who am I mad at? What am I stewing about? What's bugging me? And I would start writing. I got my notebook out and I would start writing down and for me, it was more powerful to write down how I felt, and then on the other side of the paper, write down how I wanted to feel. To me, that was very powerful. You can do either one, but I want to challenge you guys to do this for 24 hours or whenever you're awake, 12 hours. It's like a food journal. You will be shocked. Scientists say that we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, and that 70 to 85 of those percent of those thoughts are negative. And I look fat in this outfit. I'm never going to get this promotion. No one likes me. These are things that I hear. I can't sleep. I'm worrying about this all day long. And this builds neural pathways in our brain, and it becomes a habit. And it's where our brain goes when we're not doing anything. It's just automatic. And let me give you an illustration, and then I'm going to talk you through a demo. How many of you, when you get in to drive your car, you don't think, oh, now I have to put the key in the ignition. Now I have to turn it. Now I have to put my foot on the brake. Now I have to put it in reverse. Now I have to step on the gas. Well, before that, I better open the garage door. And yeah, and we just have it, we've done it so much that we don't even think about it. So in that vein, have you ever been driving down the road and thinking, where am I going? Like, I'm supposed to be going this direction. I'm going to drop the kids off at school and I'm supposed to be going to work. It's because your subconscious takes over. You've done this so many times that your subconscious does the work for you, right? And so what we are doing today is creating a new automatic thought for your brain to go there automatically and focus on what you want instead. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, cells that wire together fire together, right? Yeah, I love Joe Dispenza, and I've studied his work quite a bit. And again, it's helped me. This process that I do, I think, is so much faster because I hate, he gets up at 4 a.m. and does lots of meditation, and I like to sleep until at least 6 or 7 on most days. So if you have your statement, if anybody has any questions about their statement, I'd like you to pick one of those statements, and we're going to work on it right now.
Okay, let's start with Tamara. She has her hands up.
Oh yeah. Do you have a question?
Okay, so my statement was, hold on, I was taking notes on the statement here. Okay, I am financially wealthy and zero debt. And then I didn't finish it, but
okay.
The financial part is what's holding me back right now. Well, yes. Okay. In my mind.
In your mind, sure. Financially wealthy. And what was the second part?
Zero debt.
Zero debt. Oh yeah, I love that. Okay, so what we do here is just check in energetically and do a quick muscle test to see if your subconscious believes that or not. And you definitely do not believe that you are financially set, right? You definitely, you want to be, that's how you want to feel instead, right? Of how you're feeling right now. Okay,
Right.
great. That's a perfect one. We can work on that one. Anybody else have a question or a comment about your statement or want to share?
Go ahead, Mo.
Well, are you going to do Tamara's statement first, or do you
No,
want
we're
to?
going to do them all together. We're going to do them
okay.
all at once. You can each do your own statement. Just check if anybody has any questions about that. Sorry.
Well, what I want differently is my reaction to overwhelm, and so my statement is I don't do overwhelm, and then I feel overwhelmed.
Okay, so how can you change that? So take out the word don't. I feel what? How do you want to feel instead of overwhelmed? You're calm and collect. I'm
Yeah,
calm and collected in every situation.
Yes, I was actually writing. I feel calm and present in every situation.
Perfect.
Okay, great.
Anybody else have a question about their statement? And then we'll do an exercise and you'll work on your very own statement. And I promise I'll explain it all really clearly.
Carol, do you have any statement? You don't have your camera on.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm finding this extremely fascinating. Rini, why don't you come back to me and I guess I'm having a little resistance to it,
Okay.
which
yeah.
means there's something really important there. So why don't you come back to me for that?
Yeah. Joey, what is your statement? So like what is it something that you want and then that you know, and then like it's
What do
almost
you
like an
understand?
affirmation.
Yeah. It's almost like an affirmation. Yeah, absolutely.
Could be your kids, could be your business.
Yeah, there was a power outage here, so I missed that part. But I already have we've already been doing this kind. So I already have my statements, like my reality, and this is for the entire family. Like I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm a multimillionaire living abundantly. Our Jane
Yes,
family
I like that.
properties and houses in Asia, Europe, and North America. So we're doing this already. So
Yeah, that's totally fine.
I so believe in the definition of the law of attraction, and we practiced it as a family. So the definition itself says it starts with a thought, and whether it's positive or negative gives you that feeling that's either positive or negative, and that emits a certain vibration that would attract another like vibration. So it's whether it's positive or negative, that's what you will attract. And that's why we're so aware of our thoughts all the time. And that's what our family is really practicing every single time. And I'm really sorry sometimes people think that I'm too arrogant when I say that I have a perfect life. But that's probably because I always say it. I always say it that I now believe it. And when people
Yeah,
like try to
good.
comment on that, I it doesn't matter anymore because in my mind it's already perfect. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, and that's I mean, A+ for you. I love my life. That's one of the things that Joe Dispenza says to start with. I love my life. I'm in love with my life. And you can go on any, sometimes I like to just look up the chakra affirmations and go down and see which ones, which ones would I like? Which ones do I want to feel? And then I balance on those. I also have Louise Hay cards that I pull out occasionally. And one that I just grabbed was, I love and approve of myself. Any of those things will work. It's basically just what you want to feel better about. How do you want to feel about something instead of how you feel? Okay, so if you have your question and you're all ready, I'm just going to lead you through a quick, what we call a balance, and it's connecting the right and the left hemisphere. What this does is it creates a new neural pathway. The owner of Balanced You, Jenny Harkleroad, and I both had our brain studied by Dr. Jeffrey L. Fannin. He's the same guy who does all the brain analysis for Joe Dispenza's clinics. And he said, we got the same results in much less time. And looking at both of our brains, he said, you guys are seasoned meditators, right? And both of us said, no, we're not at all. And he said, well, you have the same brain patterns as a seasoned meditator. And it's just because this balance, when you create the whole brain connection, it starts that neural pathway. And so that's what we're going to do right now. So get your statement, your positive statement of how you'd like to feel instead. And if you can, put your feet flat on the floor. You're going to put your hands out in front of you in an X. You don't need to have tight fingers and you don't need to have fists, just nice relaxed fists, wrists, just like that. And what you're going to do is with your eyes only, you're going to trace from this fingertip to this elbow, and then from this fingertip to this elbow. I want you to make an X 10 times just with your eyes. You don't have to think about anything. Just make your eyes do all the work right now. I like to take a couple of big, slow, deep breaths. When you've got your 10 all done, you're going to take your arms here and put them on top of your shoulders, feet flat on the floor. Your 10, just make sure your eyes are doing all the work, your head's holding still. When you've got 10 X's, bring your arms to your shoulders. Just get nice and relaxed. You can go ahead and close your eyes, and I want you to give me 3 slow, deep breaths. Arms on your shoulders, feet flat on the floor. 3 to 5 slow, deep breaths. This exercise actually opens up the brain bridge, the corpus callosum. When you're ready, you're going to keep your arms just how they are and cross your ankles. Give me about 3 to 5 more slow, deep breaths. When you're ready, you're going to uncross everything and just put your hands in your lap with your palms facing up. You're going to keep your eyes closed and give me about 3 more slow, deep breaths. This is a great exercise to do when you're stressed. Cross and then uncross. Now, with your eyes closed, I want you to think about your goal statement. What is it you're working on? Now, imagine if that was true right now. What would look differently in your life? How would someone who knows you and loves you, how would they know that this goal was a reality just by looking at you? How would you see yourself if this goal was a reality? So for instance, if my statement said, I trust my inner wisdom, what would look differently about me if I really trusted my inner wisdom? Think about 3 different things.
He's peaceful.
Awesome.
Settled.
Settled, good. Just go ahead and keep your eyes closed, palms open up on your lap, feet flat on the floor. Now I want you to think, what would you hear differently if your goal statement was a reality? Really try to hear it in your own voice. What would you tell yourself if your goal statement was a reality? What would you hear other people saying to you? Just think about that and hear it in their voice. Great time to just slow your breathing down. Now, the next step is what I feel like is the most important, where I really feel the most. With your eyes closed, your palms open in your lap, your feet flat on the floor, how would you feel if this goal statement was a reality? Pick an emotion: peace, happiness, joy, contentment, and really try to get into that emotion. We're signaling the emotion ahead of the experience right here to activate that cell. Maybe about 15 more seconds to really feel that emotion. When you're ready, you're going to open your eyes and we're going to talk about the next step. Okay, so now we're ready to, now we got that brain bridge open with those exercises. And again, you can do this and cross your ankles. Anytime you're feeling stressed, I highly recommend, if you're nervous about something, if you have an emotion you can't quite get a hold of, this is a great, I mean, it's a self-hug. I do this about 10 breaths. And then I feel, what do I want to feel? If this emotion, if this really is happening, how is this going to make me feel? This, again, this activates that cellular biology because we're signaling the motion ahead of the experience, signaling that cell that this really happened, right? So just really quickly, one of the illustrations about this is people in America say that the number one thing that they're most afraid of is who knows what people's biggest fear is. I would say like a snake, a mouse, something like that. It's public speaking, right? Yeah, right. And you can actually make yourself sick before that experience because you're so nervous, right? You can get diarrhea, you can get nausea, you can make yourself sick. So why can't you do this with a positive experience? And this is exactly what we're doing this morning. We're signaling the emotion, which will signal the experience, which will signal your cellular biology to react in a positive way. Okay, so now we're going to take your hands and put them right down in front of you. Your feet are still flat on the floor. You're going to cross your arms over so that the pinkies touch, and you're going to swipe, alternating up to your chest. Again, this is a really good exercise. If I'm stressed, I love to do this. I backed my son's car into a telephone pole one day, and I barely even dinged it, but I was so worried that it was going to be dented that I pulled over and I did this before I got out and looked, and there was no dent. So great exercise. Now, when you're ready, you're going to close your eyes and silently repeat that goal statement about 10 times. If your goal statement was, I trust my inner wisdom, then you would be closing your eyes and repeating that silently to yourself. When you're ready, open your eyes. You're going to put both hands down at your navel. You're going to swipe up, alternating to your collarbone, kind of like I'm brushing my hair out of my way. From your navel to your collarbone. Close your eyes and continue repeating that statement. If I was working on, my statement is, I trust my inner wisdom, then I would be silently repeating that at least 10 times while I'm doing this motion. final step, you're going to interlace your fingers in the prayer pose. You're going to just set them in your lap, feet flat on the floor, and give me about 10 more silent repetitions of that goal statement. And I really like to slow my breathing down here and just get nice and relaxed and really feel like what this feels like. Give me about 5 more slow, deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Give everybody just a couple minutes to finish up. Great job. Great job. Okay, so now the one I was working on was I trust my inner wisdom. So now I'm going to write an action statement. What's something I'm going to do for the next 7 days that's going to help really solidify that new neural pathway that I just built of trusting my inner wisdom? Okay, it could be anything. There are so many possibilities here. Journaling is a great one. Sometimes I go for a walk with the intention of clearing the negative energy around not trusting my inner wisdom. Sometimes, if my goal statement has something to do with emotion, which again, for me is anger, I have to go play the piano for an hour. That's my action plan, because I need to think about something else besides that situation. And so every day I practice a certain piece of music for 30 minutes with the intention of clearing that negative energy around that. So if you have any questions about an action plan, be sure and let me know or ask. But does anybody have any experiences they'd like to share from their brain exercise that we just did? Anything that came up?
How about Tamara?
Tamara, do you have anything?
So,
No, put you on the spot. Let's put you on the spot.
I know, right? Well, I was trying to come up with an action plan, and I know I'm doing a lot right now because I'm in school for ministry.
Yeah.
And I'm like looking at all of this, and then my phone pops up with this app that is for coaching clients. And so I'm like, does that mean that I'm supposed to call this person and see? So I'm kind of thinking maybe that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Make it simple. I mean, really, we're all busy, right? I don't need one more thing to do. I need something that I can work into my schedule already. And when I say journal, sometimes I just can write 3 sentences about that, and then I got to be done. Okay. But it's really important that you do just more than repeat the statement. Again, adding the brain, any kind of cross movement to that just solidifies that neural pathway. So what we just did was a balance. That's like reading the car manual and getting all the rules and having them memorized in your head. The action is like going out and driving the car. It solidifies that neural pathway and makes it more your automatic thought. So again, using my example of I trust my inner wisdom, just going to share a super quick story. When I went to see Dr. Fannin, and they put on those super attractive little caps with all the gel and the wires coming out so that they can measure your brain. And we were chatting a little bit while Jenny was getting her stuff on because we took turns having our brain studied. And he said, he pulled up my brain scan and he pointed to a certain part of my brain and he said, "Oh my goodness, you have a huge portion of your brain that's intuition. But this little section right here is not being activated, which tells me you're not listening. You're getting the messages, but you're not listening." And I'm like, dude, I know, because I had just gone through this big divorce and then I was questioning everything. Like, if I'd listened in the first place, then why did this turn out so bad? And so I shut that right down because of trauma that I'd been through. So when he told me this, I made a commitment to myself from that day forward that I was going to listen more and be brave about hearing and acting on those messages. And that alone changed my life right there. So there is great power in action.
But if it's about somebody else, like my kids, that's who I
Okay.
worry about. Then
Yes. Okay.
what is your action?
Okay. So that's a really, really good one. Number one, I would put down, what's a good thing that you can do instead of worrying? Like, I would bake something with the intention of releasing my worry. I would go play the piano with the intention of releasing that worry and knowing that it's going to be okay. Reminding myself, that I know it's going to be all right. Yes, what's within your realm of control is really good. What can you
And-
do about you that can help you remember that worrying is a wasted emotion?
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
Tamara.
Tamara.
Um, what I did, Rennie, was my kids were like totally off kilter. And I took pictures of them and I put them on my wall. And every morning I would just send out love to them. And
Yes.
even when they were being angry with me or whatever, I would just stop and take a breath and then just send out love and just let them know I love them. Within, I say, a week and a half of that, my kids totally turned around because I was seeing them differently, so they were seeing me differently, and it turned our whole relationship around. Same with my husband. I did the same
Oh,
thing.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. And it doesn't seem like it would, but I encourage you to try it because it does. Again, the freedom that I got from letting this go, because again, I would get so worked up about it, and then I was cranky, and irritable, and they'd call, and I'm like, well, why didn't you do this? Because of course, if they would just listen to me, all their problems would be gone, right? But they don't, and they won't. And so I had to let that go. And so again, I love what she said about just putting their pictures up, because that was a reminder. I get busy and I forget what I'm working on that week. So I do put my goal statement on my bathroom mirror or on my computer where I can read it every day and remember. I'm at peace with whatever they decide. I trust that everything is going to be okay. That's a huge one for me. I deserve the best that love and life have to offer, or I'm unaffected by their behavior, or it's easy for me to love them unconditionally. That was another one that was huge for me. Does that help?
Yes.
Does anybody
Mo,
else?
go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
going to tell this quick story. I want to share it with y'all, and then I got to go get ready for another meeting. But when my son was he's 30, he'll be 31 at Christmas this year. And when he was in high school, he was in grade 11. I got a letter saying he was in jeopardy of failing, and I lost my ever-loving mind. I yelled at him. My husband had to take a call. He had to leave the house. My voice was hoarse for 3 days because I yelled so loud. I was so angry because he was so smart and he wasn't doing the things, and what is wrong with you, and blah, 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 blah. Fast forward 1 year later, he's in his graduating year. I have since been in therapy. And he goes, I got a letter again. So he comes home from school and I said, hey, babe, what's going on? I just got this letter saying you're in jeopardy of not graduating. He goes, oh, that was that rubric of this project I was doing, but actually I've made up for it. So I have a passing grade now. So that's not really. I was like, all right, well, if you need any help, just let me know. You know, we'll get you tutors, get you whatever you want. I'm always here for you. He's like, thanks, Mom. And he gave me a big hug. I mean, the difference, same situation. And he was in jeopardy of not passing grade 12 for criminy sakes. But the same situation, oh, there we go. And the same situation, yet because I changed. I mean, it truly is the only thing we have control over is how we react, how we respond to any situation.
Truly is the
And
only
so,
thing.
and just like you were saying, Janet, the more we lean into that, the more empowered we become, the more, and someone said, I hate the word control. And I get that, but it is a sense of control. Like, okay, what do I actually have control over? And I do this with my clients a lot. Like, what do you actually have control over right now? If their kids are running them ragged or whatever, what do you have control over? And so it always comes back to right here. And that builds self-confidence. It builds self-esteem. It gives you that settledness and everything. For me, I'm like so stressed out because of this stupid computer thing, because computers hate me. I'm convinced. Like there is something in the universe. I have a chip in my brain or something that messes them up. But I'm going to do this today. I'm going to create this landing page, and I'm just going to keep saying I am calm and present in every situation.
Here's another one I want you to do.
Okay.
I love computers. I am great with computers. I am great. See,
Oh, now
and
I'm fine.
it's interesting how much you catch yourself saying,
Yep, it's true.
right?
Yep.
And I had to do it too. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Thank you so much. I gotta go. Thanks so much. Have a great
Thank you, Mo. Have a good day.
Deborah, and then back to Tamara.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Excuse me. I had two questions.
Yes.
I was writing down the exercise. I missed the part where you had the arms crossed on the shoulder. What was I supposed to do?
At the very beginning, we're just clearing up that brain bridge. So you're going to cross with the X, and then bring your arms to your shoulders, and then cross your ankles. Each one of those I would do, about 3 to 5 slow, deep breaths. With this one, you're making that X with your eyes, and keeping your head still. Does that answer your question? And then uncross everything and take 3 more slow, deep breaths. It seems really silly, that cross body movement, but I'm telling you, there is something about that just works. I don't know. And again, I've read Bruce Lipton, PhD, he's a neuroscientist. I've read his book several times. He explains it. And I'm like, yeah, I really don't care how it works. I just want it to work. It doesn't really matter. Right.
How many times do you do it? Do you do it every day? Once a day?
This is one of like 20 brain exercises that we do at Balanced You, depending on the issue. So do I do this every day? Yes. I was a client in 2017. So I've been doing this stuff for myself since then. So going on a number of years, and I do try to do it every single day, because sadly, I still have problems. Sadly, I haven't figured out the brain exercise to make the problems go away. But when I do these brain exercises, then it calms my whole body down, and I'm able to find a solution. So just really quick story. When I had those dogs and I was walking them, I was really overweight. And so the doctor, of course, said, lose weight and your knee won't hurt. So I really tried. I really tried. I lost some weight initially after those balances, and because I was jogging, but then it was just stuck. And so I worked on that for probably about 3 years before I finally figured out what the real issue was. And that happened just this February, when I'm not sure, but again, I have this with my clients who have addiction issues. Sometimes it takes a while to break through exactly what the issue is. But since February, I've lost 35 pounds.
Wow.
And I'd been working on it before. So why couldn't I get it then? It just wasn't the right time, or I wasn't really connecting. For me, and again, maybe I'm slow, but it was the emotional eating that I was doing at night because, you know, I had 4 kids at one time and a busy family, and we were all super involved. And then overnight, all of that was gone. And then I'm here by myself. And so I was eating and balancing for that, but I wasn't quite hitting on the right thing. So yes, do I balance every day? Yes, absolutely. Because I still have people cut me off on the freeway.
Carol, go ahead.
Okay, so I came up with my statement. My home is beautifully decorated, serene, and clutter-free, and I love bringing guests to my home.
Okay, good.
And the exercise was, what will I do action-wise every day
Okay,
to
yeah,
get
that's a
into the
great one.
feeling, of that? Is that?
Yes, or to make it happen. What do you do every day to make that happen? So I've actually done this because my mom was a huge pack rat and I was a neat freak. But being married and having all, you know, the kids and the crazy life, they pulled me to the dark side. And so, I mean, I was literally one of those people that would vacuum and all the lines had to be a certain way. And then I had kids and then I'm like, well, where's the vacuum? So after everybody left and I'm here, and then I'm just overwhelmed with all the crap, and it just was too much to deal with. So one of the balances I did was something like you did, and then my action was every day I'm going to do 10 minutes worth of, like, if that's just one drawer I'm going to go through, I'm going to just do that one drawer. 10 minutes takes me 10 minutes to sort. The scissors go here, the pencils go here, and throw the rest of that crap away. And so I worked on that for a week, and then I loved it. And then it was like crazy town. And again, any of you that are my age, like 60s, in their 60s, you have a dramatic shift in your energy that's not fun. Like I get so tired so easily. And so that was another thing I had to balance for, was the motivation. I easily am motivated to downsize, to clean, to organize. I mean, this makes me happy. So I just started really small, 10 minutes. I'm not going to work on it more than 10 minutes a day. And that was, you know, in addition to other stuff that I was working on. So I'm just going to clean this one box of junk. That's it. Okay, does that help?
Good idea.
You know, I've done, okay, so my issue is, because I've done things like that. As a matter of fact, I've actually hired an organizer.
Okay.
And it's, you know, part of the issue come from the fact that it's my husband, like you, it was your children and whatever,
Yes.
it's my husband.
Yes. Okay.
So a big issue within that issue is me taking the funds. Like, one of the things that will make me feel really good is having the interior painted, which I think is going to cost, like, I don't know, $10,000. I don't even know how much that's going to cost. So there's a big resistance to me just forget about my husband, because he's what I call it, he's in the post-college first apartment syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's his idea of existence, right? So which means I would have to just pay the 10,000. So what would you suggest for me to face the challenge of just saying, okay, I'm just going to pay that $10,000 or $15,000 myself to get myself feeling good?
Yeah. Okay. Well, number one, I would say, what's the resistance around? Is the resistance around the finances to have that money to do it, or is it going against what he would want, or disrupting him in some way? What's the resistance? Give me more.
I think the resistance is it's not fair, right? Because you know, the way we do things is we have shared money, we have his money, we have my money. So the resistance is it's not fair.
Okay.
It's not fair that
Oh, that
I
you have
just,
to pay for the whole thing.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Just to bypass his post-college dormitory or whatever
Right.
type of decorating style.
Okay. So what I would say here is maybe write a couple statements and see which one resonates. That's a really good way to figure out what the real problem is. Like, I easily find a way to paint this house so that the responsibility is shared. I easily talk with my husband in a way that invites his input and finances into this problem, or into this issue. I wouldn't use the word problem, but I easily negotiate with my husband in a way to solve this problem. You know, what really do you want? Do you want him to share half of the expenses of that? Is that what you really want?
What I want is for me to feel just joyful, paying for the whole thing myself.
Okay, then I joyfully pay for the entire thing myself, and I'm happy with it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I would start.
Okay. I'll work with that.
So like the gal said, I think it was Joey that said, what did you say, Joey, about you love your life? And, you know, it was just, there's a great book called Tell Yourself a Bigger Lie. What did you say, Joey? Your statement was, I really like that. I want to write that down.
I'm happy and
Okay, I'm happy and grateful that now that I am a multimillionaire living abundantly, our
Yes.
JMJ family has properties and houses in Asia, Europe, and North America. We always travel for business and leisure as a family all over the world. People call our family the model family because they see in us the meaning of quality family time, doing things together, hearing mass together, serving together, inspiring people of all ages. So I have this. This is our reality because I learned this from from all gurus out there. But we really
Absolutely.
follow Neville Goddard, and there's this Mr. 2020 that's teaching the Neville Goddard works, and what he says or he what he teaches is that instead of going through the process, let's say we're doing our visualization, you don't go through the process, you go back, you go to the future, and then in the future, in your imagination, you're reminiscing the past, and the past is what you wanted. For example, you wanted
Yes.
to have a like for Carol here, a nice house painted. Instead of going through the process of the statement of being happy and joyful, I would rather go in my visualization in the future, like 5 years from now, and the husband and wife, you're like holding each other's hands, squeezing each other's hands, and saying, "What a nice house," or something like that. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
because in the imagination, you have to do like a certain act. And that could be a squeezing of the hand or the clicking of the glasses if it's like a
Yes.
congratulatory event or something. So that's what we do instead of going through the process. I know that in other with other gurus they teach that, but then with Neville Goddard he always says just go to the future when and then you talk about the thing that you wanted as if it already happened in the past.
Yeah.
I love that.
And we have 22 processes that balances what we use. And again, I use muscle testing to see which one works best for my client. And so I don't end up, none of these decisions are mine. I help you find the answers within you to see how best you can solve that problem. And so it works out great because, we all know that the answers are within ourselves. And I love that. I use that method all the time of what she just said, all the time for different, it depends on what it is. Depends on what we're working. This one we used today is a super easy one. And there's so many elements of that balance that we did that can help you in stressful situations. Like when I'm worked up about something, I immediately go to this stuff and I just breathe and I focus on what I want instead. Right. And then it changes the way I look at things. And then the things I
Love
look
it.
at change. We come back to that. So
Thank you so much. We are at 8:04, so we already passed the hour.
sorry.
Um, Does anyone else have any comment or questions? Before we go there, Omega, I just want to announce that next week Amy Kaufman will be continuing with her session. It says The Magic of Romance Part 2. She did Part 1, I think it was about a month ago. So that was the session next week. But if any of you need to leave, feel free to do so because we are past the hour. But Janet, you're okay to go a little bit over?
Yep. And I'm going to
Okay.
put in the chat. I put my email in the chat. If you want a free, you can get 2 free sessions, no obligation to a group exercise. It's not group therapy. You don't have to share anything that you're working on. It's just either led by Jenny or myself, depending on the week, of a group exercise that we do, and they pick a goal, or you can bring your own goals. And also we have an app that does the same thing. You get 7 days free access to this app. If it's called the Leap app, and you can use that link right there to access information about the app. On that app, there's 6 to 8 of those balances that are available that you can do on demand at 2 in the morning when you can't sleep, when you're mad at when you're waking up and trying to create world peace. You can jump on that app and
So Janet,
focus on what you want.
after this meeting, if you want, I have added you to the chat group, Facebook chat
Okay.
group for Women's Coffee Club. You feel free to post all these information there. Okay, so
Okay.
Omeka, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going back and forth between different things that I wanted to use as my statement. I came up with I kept unraveling, going kind of deeper, I thought. I believe in myself. As I believe in myself, others believe in me. Or as I believe and trust in myself, others
I love
believe
it.
and trust in me. Because I was like, okay, people like that you're happy in it, but I'm like at the end of it or whatever, I feel like I don't believe and trust in myself. So obviously somewhere I'm putting that out there, and people may like my whatever I do or comment, but like the engagement is not. So
So what I would
yeah,
say to you is take out the word as because that implies that it happens in the future or it's conditional. Just say, I
okay,
believe and trust in myself.
that's it.
That's
And
all
then
you need, right?
okay,
If you believe and
okay,
trust in yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And
right,
so
okay,
take out that word as and just make it, I believe in myself. I trust
okay,
myself, right?
right,
How does that make you feel if you trust yourself?
yeah, okay, thank you.
Unstoppable,
Yeah,
right?
right. And
So
also, feeling safe was my
Yes.
emotion around the result. Yeah, so thank you.
Oh gosh,
That was great.
I'm right there with you.
I love it. I love it. And what Joey was saying about making this like a reality as if it's already happened,
Yes.
and that it's,
So
Yeah,
powerful.
whatever your wishes are, that you're actually affirming that it's already happening and you are already there. That,
yeah. And I
gain
also
the
I
gain the
want to know
feeling.
about that. I'll get in touch with you. I want to know about that brain, whatever my mother's dealing with dementia, and I just feel like I'd like to know more about which part of the brain or something.
So
I
fascinating.
mean, with myself as well, but I'm just kind of like wanting to understand more. So thank you. I will get in touch with you.
Okay.
Okay, any other last minute before we close?
I have a
Um,
question though.
Sure.
okay, go ahead.
Jan, the thing that you put on to read the brain.
Yes.
I'm a follower also of Joe Dispenza, and I know that in his seminars they have that.
The same guy.
How much did that cost?
Well, it didn't cost me anything because again, I work for Balanced You, and so she paid for that. And we did this in 2020. It was during COVID. We flew to his residence in Arizona, and she told me at the time how much it was, but you can contact him in any of his books, which I highly recommend.
What is the
In
name
his
of the
latest
book?
His latest book, let's see, Commanding the Power of Thought. He has #1 and #2, and then he just has a brand new book out, which unfortunately I left in my daughter's car.
His name is Bruce Lipton.
No, this is a different guy. This is Jeffrey L. Fannin. I'll put it in the chat. Is his name, and he just had a new book come out. His 4th book, I think, 4th or 5th book. So I'll put it in the chat. He's a PhD. He does all, and he talks about in his last book, all of the brain science he did for Joe Dispenza and some of the things, the crazy stuff that happened during those brain studies. And it's very fascinating. It's a little bit woo-woo, but you know, he said before he became a brain scientist, he was a diehard atheist. And after he worked on the brain, he worked for aerodynamics, this very prominent company here in California that is no longer here. I can't remember the name of it, but then after their company closed down and he got laid off, he went back to got his PhD in neuroscience. And he said he was an atheist. And after he did all his PhD work, he said, now I believe in God, totally believe in God, because of all of the brain stuff that he observed. So it is a little tiny bit woo-woo. But again, you know, he's just saying what happened to him. And let me look up the name of the latest book really quick.
That's
And if
nice.
anybody has to go, you know, I totally understand.
No, I love this topic. We should
Yeah.
have more of this session. I love topics about the brain and, you know, psychology.
It's very good.
It's very fascinating, isn't
Good.
it?
You know what? Like this topic, we could actually just pick one because there's just too much to talk about in this.
Joey, you can do that. Then I'll connect with you for January or February next year.
Sure.
So you're looking up the book, right?
Yep, I'm going to put it in the chat right this very second. This book just came out.
Demanding the Power of Thoughts.
Yeah, #3. This is his 3rd book. And in this, the whole beginning of the book, he talks all about his experiences with Joe Dispenza. And every time they have a seminar, they map people's brains and see the before and after and the neuroscience that backs up all of this stuff, that the body reacts to what you're thinking, this crazy stuff. Who knew? Who knew? Not me. I didn't.
Did you put it there?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Commanding Power of Thoughts.
Yes.
Self-critic ebook.
Yes.
But his name is Jeffrey what?
Jeffrey L. Fannin. It's on the comment right before that.
L. Fannin, I didn't see that. Okay. Anything else, Janet, you want to say before we close this up?
Thanks, guys. It was wonderful sharing this knowledge and my experience. And thanks, Joey, for your great comments. All wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Janet, and all of you here. I mean, this is an amazing topic.
Yes.
I'll follow up with Joey in January or February next year. We'll schedule you because even though none, you know, I mean, like she just has this experience with the law of attraction and the actual, you know, practice of it, the actual implementation. I think because a lot of us learn about quotes and teaching on a regular basis, we don't always apply it. And I know she has 5 kids and she applied it to her entire family. So thank you again, Janet. Really appreciate this. And all of you, like I said before, Amy Kaufman will be doing a presentation next week about the magic of romance. So with that, have a great day, great weekend, everyone, and hope to see you back here next week. Thank you again, Janet. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.